Hi, welcome to Lovin Sheila, the podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Monica Tanner. Monica is a wife, a mother of four, a relational life therapist, coach, an author, and podcast host. And I want to quote her for just a moment. When your marriage is strong, life just flows better. And that truth has been Monica's obsession and mission. Today, we're going to have a discussion with Monica to find out how we can ditch the myths, build real connection, and create our own love story. So, get ready and help me welcome Monica Tanner. Podcast. I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah, so grateful to be here.
I have a, first of all, one of the things I want to ask you because I did not know this. Tell me what relational life therapy is and how is it different from regular talk therapy?
Yeah, well, relational life therapy is a modality created by Terry Real, and it's an amalgamation of a lot of different types of therapies, but with a few key differences. We do take sides. We use judicious self-disclosure. We don't consider ourselves the expert. We're actually like fellow travelers with you. There's a lot of things. It's known for creating behavioral change quickly, like characterological change quickly, because we help. Basically, what we do is we help individuals who are in a couple. So we work with couples, but we help individuals really give guidance and love to their inner children so that they can stay in connection without going into protection. So, there's a lot of beautiful things about relational life therapy that I love, but mostly it's just a modality that we use to help couples really get back to intimacy and connection.
I really do like that because I believe in therapy. I've only done talk therapy, and I'm so glad we kind of got introduced because I only knew about that. But one of the frustrations I may have had is just that it really doesn't tell you what to do. It doesn't tell you. You're like, and sometimes we get to a point where we're banging our head against the wall, and we need some instruction, we need some direction, and it's something.
One of the things I love about my training is we talk about using a balance of stress and safety. So we do want to create safety for the couples, but also stress enough, as you say, to like give some direction and to help them figure out what to do instead of just talking about things in
Yeah,
circles.
exactly. Because what I was thinking is there's no training. Like there's no training. We want to have relationships, but we don't have any training for it.
Mhm.
And for instance, like me, I was a product of unwed parents, and my mother was never married while I was with her. So my objective, my mission was to get married
Mhm.
and have my child while I was married. But the parameters, I didn't know. We didn't have and we didn't focus on those because my dad was like, don't get pregnant. My mom was like, stay in the house.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and with these things, and so everything I did early on in relationships was kind of sneaking and behind their back. And so it was not safe. And I think and later on in life, in my relationships, that not being safe was familiar to me. And so the foundation, you know, was kind of off to begin with.
Yeah.
So that's
So many of us didn't have great models of relationality, and so we're kind of making it up as we go. But there are relational skills that work so beautifully, right? We have to first learn how to get out of our adaptive child and into our wise adult so that we can use the skills that are available.
and that was going to be one of my questions. I was leading to
Yeah.
what are those adaptive skills? Um,
Yeah.
you know, that
Well, the first skill is just to recognize when we're in our adaptation, right? So we all created these adaptations to kind of survive the environment that we grew up in, right? And so whether it's to protect ourselves, the fight, flight, or flee. What do we do when we get into, those stressful situations? How do we act? And it's about taking a breath and choosing a better way. So choosing connection versus protection.
That's, you know, back to what I was talking about. Because I wasn't taught. I didn't even hear the term connection growing up. You know, realistic, realistically, I was like, okay, he's cute. You know what I'm saying? He's got charisma. Like, and I married him. And so I really want us to know, like, entering into. That's what I try and focus on, like strengthening relationships, building good relationships, and having a good emotional framework to start. What can we do to prepare people for to enter into relationship? Because I think that's where it starts even before we get to the marriage thing.
I mean, one thing is just having a strong sense of self, like being able to pull yourself up into equality, right? Like I work with a lot of clients who have an anxious attachment. They, have experienced some sort of abandonment, and so they have a very anxious attachment. And so one of the things we really, really work on is pulling ourselves up to be same as. So one of my clients in particular, she used to have such a hard time dating because she'd always say, like, how do I make myself agreeable? Like, how do I make myself pleasing to this person that I'm dating? And I'm like, well, first and foremost, you've got to make yourself pleasing to yourself, right? Like, it's not about somebody else's needs being more important than your own or putting them above you. It really is like, how can I act in a way that I can back myself up, that I can be proud of, right? How can I really have a strong enough sense that I know what my needs are, and that we're both on an equal playing field, that I'm not putting this person above me somehow.
Right, right.
So that's like a really important. One of the things I always like, the homeworks I give a lot of, especially my women who are getting, dating or getting ready to find somebody, I make them watch Runaway Bride. Have you seen the one Runaway Bride with Julia Roberts and
I
Richard
saw it, but
Gere?
I don't remember, all the.
Yeah, well, it's such a beautiful storyline, but it's this woman who gets the reputation for being a runaway bride, for like getting into these relationships, and she gets right up to the point where she's going to marry somebody, and then she runs, leaves them at the altar and runs. And the reason why is because she's abandoned so much of herself. So anytime she gets into a relationship, she starts doing her hair the way that the guy likes. She likes her eggs, however the guy she's dating likes, right? And she has no sense of herself in the relationship. She just kind of folds into whoever it is she's dating. And so she's never going to be able to fully choose into a relationship where she's not being herself. And so it goes through how she learns how to stop self-abandoning, and just really she knows what kind of eggs she likes. And it's okay to like a different type of eggs than whoever she's dating, right? And so she can't really fully choose a relationship until she can choose herself first. So that's kind of important.
Great. I have all these like questions I typed out for you, and because I read your book, okay? Because I
Oh,
read the book, and thank you for signing it for me.
yeah.
Um, Finished it, and so I went through and I had all these questions and watching your, podcast and all, and you're like tapping into all of them right there, like like one single question, one single answer. One of the questions I have for you is when you have a strong sense of self, like how do you get to we? Because I know we talk about teamwork and we talk about becoming we. How do those mesh?
Yeah. Well, it's called relational empowerment. It means I'm going to stand toe to toe with you, because it makes us both stronger. Meaning, like you have individual empowerment, where a lot of people get confused. This is where I didn't have a voice and now I have a voice, and go screw yourself. Versus relational empowerment, where I'm going to stand up toe to toe with you because it makes a relationship stronger. You have to have a self to give. Now, that's not to say you're never going to change your mind on anything, and you're not continuously growing and, evolving as a person. But in order to be a strong team, you have to have strong individuals. You have to have a great offense and a great defense. You have to be able to take influence from other people, but you also have to have a self to give to the relationship. So it's important to know,
Yeah,
if you're going to go out to eat, what kind of eggs you like.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I think that makes my marriage so special is my husband doesn't have the same interests as I do, right? Like I love talking about relationships and helping people with their relationality, right? And he has
Yeah.
no interest in that, right? But he has interests that don't include me. He loves sports and coaching sports and doing all those things. And so we don't have to have the same interests or the same goals, even. We just have to love each other enough to take interest in each other. So, we go on walks in the evenings, every evening. It's one of my favorite things to do with my husband, right? And he talks about the things that he's really passionate about. And I talk about the things that I'm really passionate about. And we disagree about most things, but we can talk about them in a way that really enriches both of us because we show curiosity and interest and respect for each other. So we don't have to agree on things. We don't have to always be working towards the same things as long as we support and respect each other.
I see what you're saying. When I first started reading your book, this is it seems so simple, but one of the things you said was ask for what you want instead of like, implying and all this other stuff. So much so that I went and did a full podcast on ask for what you want because oftentimes it seems like we don't. So I was just gonna ask you, do you find that a lot of couples just is that common that we just don't ask for what we want?
I love that you asked that question because I am literally working on my 45-minute keynote talk, and it literally is that. And it comes from that myth that if they love you, they'll just know, right? Which is a really lazy way to not have to communicate what you desire. And here's what happens. I once had a couple come into my office, and the wife was literally, she had her bags packed, she had one foot out the door, and she was ready to leave. And her husband was just baffled. He loved this woman, and he had no idea how to make her happy. And so they sat down and we started doing the intake, and I was asking her questions. And we eventually uncovered, she said, like, I quote, I always dreamed of being married to a man who would bring me coffee in bed every morning. And I looked over at her husband, and literally his jaw just hit the ground. He was like, "What? I never knew that." He's like, "I would love to bring you coffee in bed." He's like, "In fact, I will literally start tomorrow morning. I will bring you coffee in bed." He like, how was I supposed to know that? And even though she was serious, she really did want him to bring her coffee in bed, but it was a little bit of a metaphor for I expected someone to just know what
Right.
I wanted without me having to ask. And so we did all kinds of work to uncover the false beliefs that were covering that, right? She thought that if you married the right person and you loved each other enough that you would just know how to make each other happy, which couldn't be farther from the truth. We have to be able to train the people around us how to treat us. We have to be willing to teach them what it means to love us because we are all so individual. And what we as humans do, here's what we do. We basically walk around with these manuals for other people and how they should behave and how they should treat us. The problem is that other people can't see our manuals for them. So we have these ideas of how our husband should treat us or how our neighbor should behave, right? Like we think that they shouldn't throw garbage on the ground, and we think they shouldn't play their music late at night, and we think that our spouses should bring us coffee in bed and should just know the right things to say when we're feeling down. The problem is we've been writing these manuals all our lives from the things that we've seen and experienced, but other people can't see those manuals. And so I've in connection with relational life therapy, this is like something that we learn in relational life therapy, but I've adapted it a little bit. We have to learn how to make requests. And making requests of the people we love is vulnerable and also one of the most loving things that we can do for them. So, one way that you can, like a good indicator. I talk about this like as if it's the indicator on your dashboard, like the check engine light, or, like your tires need air, or, we have all these little indicators on our dashboard on our car. And those are just good indications that something needs attention. And so the indicators that you can be aware of in your own self is, what are the things that you complain about in relationship with anyone, your coworkers, your kids, your spouse, right? If you are complaining about something like, I wish that so and so, or like so and so is not doing something, or it's a good indication that you're either not getting something that you want, or you feel like you're being treated unfairly. Now, here's the thing, under every complaint, there's always a longing, a desire, a request. So wise people will look at the indicators of what are they complaining about? What are they feeling resentful about? And they'll find what it is that they really actually want underneath. So some common complaints I hear is, I wish my partner would help around the house more, or I wish my partner would initiate more often, right? Now, these are pretty broad requests. It's really hard to know, like, did I do that right? Am I actually doing the thing you want me to do? So step one, and there's 3 steps in this process of making requests. The first step is remembering love. We've got to remember who we're talking to, somebody we love or live with or work with, right? And the reason why we're going to make this request is because we want things to be better between us. We want to show them our manual, because the alternative is to just resent them or complain about them, right? So we want to make clear what it is in our manual that we think that they should be doing. So number 1 is to remember love. Number 2, step 2, is to be stupidly specific. Because we want to say, I need more help around the house, or I want you to initiate more, versus, I would like your support cleaning up the kitchen after dinner. And what that would look like is clearing the dishes, getting them in the dishwasher, wiping off the counter, sweeping the floor, and taking out the trash. If you could do that, that would be so helpful 3 nights a week. 3 nights a week, you be in charge of cleaning the kitchen, take that off my plate. That would be amazing. Do you know how many partners would be like, yes,
Yeah,
thank you for making that so clear. Yes, I can do that for you. I would love to do that for you, right? Most partners, they'll either come through for us or they'll have a really good reason why they can't.
that's accurate.
And
So,
so, yes, so we've got to teach them, what is our stupidly specific request? What is the thing that would actually help them win or treat us the way we want to be treated? That's step 2. And then step 3, here's what most people forget to do, is to show appreciation for any amount of progress that we see. So maybe our partner did a great job cleaning the kitchen on Monday, but then they forgot for the rest of the week. We need to really show appreciation. Oh my goodness, you cleaned the kitchen. You were such a rock star on Monday night. Like, that was so helpful. I appreciate so much what you did. Also, I'm wondering if this next week that you can do it 3 times. That would be so helpful. That's how we appreciate the progress that they've made and keep fighting for what it is we really want. That's how we get more of what we want from the people that we love.
and that's very, very helpful, because it's critical. It's critical because and I think a lot of times, I know for me, we don't even know. So it makes us even like think a little harder, figure out what it is we want, so that
Right. There
we
is
can.
an amount of effort that comes with that. We have to be willing to get curious, like, well, I'm complaining about what I'm not getting, but what is it that actually would feel good to me?
Mhm. What I noticed in reading your book and all, I noticed there's some consistent things, like a through line in here. And what I took away was being curious,
Hmm.
being direct, and being intentional. Those are some things that I kind of felt like were throughout. Can you
Yes,
speak
you're right. You're right.
to
And
that?
communication, right? If it engenders lazy communication, then it made the book.
Okay. Yeah. So I just thought that was good, because so many times, we are clear, but we want times people and want what we want. So it doesn't matter why you feel like you feel. Um, we like we talked about before, we kind of may not or not direct. So I just thought that was really um that you just have that. consistently because it reinforces this constant frame that we really have that curiosity in everything.
Yeah. My mentor Terry Real often says the quote, "You can't be upset about not getting what you've never asked for."
So that's it's funny because a lot of times these things that's very simple. That's a simple statement, right? But it's so profound because it's the truth. Like, my son was going on an interview. He's got graduated in college and he's going on some interviews, and I don't know what he knows. You know, what I'm saying? I just don't know what he knows. I'm telling him all the things, and I'm like, we don't know what you. I don't know what he knows. It's like in relationships, we don't know what the other people know. So, and of course, they're not supposed to know without us telling. But I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like we have to communicate because otherwise, so many things can go unsaid and undone.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to ask you because I see this a lot. We're growing, you know, people in relationships are growing. And often, and even in the book, you talk about when we grow apart. But how do you get to a place where you have an agreement, like in a contract in your relationship that says, we're going to grow
Hmm.
and I guess I'm asking my question, committed to growing together because I'll speak for myself. I'm divorced. I was married for 22 years. And we, we didn't grow. We acquired things and we worked together on some things, but emotionally and our connection we didn't grow together. How do level set is that to grow together and not grow apart?
Yeah, yeah. And I hear that all the time. People come in and they're like, "She's just not the woman I married."
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course she's not. There's been time and experiences that have changed and grown her and developed her in different ways, right? And so often we feel so gypped when, maybe our partner has changed the way they feel about religion or whether or not they want to stay home with the kids or what kind of job they want to continue to pursue, right? We feel like, oh, they switch things up on us and that's not fair. But the goal in a committed relationship obviously is not to stay the same, right? Like we can count on that. That is a law of the universe. Like everything changes, right? Like that's the law of entropy. That's like all of the, Newton's laws. Everything grows, everything changes. The goal is to, when you say grow together, it's to learn how to respect each other, right? And we can do that by being compassionately curious about our partner's subjective reality. So this is it's a phrase from RLT, but when we think of relationships, there's always two realities. There's my reality and your reality, right? So we could get off this podcast right now and somebody could ask, "What did you talk about?" And your interpretation of our conversation would be different than mine. Not because we had two different conversations or we're two different realities. We sat in the same room and had the same conversation for the same amount of time, but you're going to interpret it through your lens of your perspective and your experience and who you are as a person, which is very different from my experience and my lens and my perspective and who I am as a person. And so we learn to value these differences. I often talk about you've met those people who are very unwilling to honor anyone else's perspective. And I always say those people are staring at the butt of an elephant. So you can spend your entire life just looking at the butt of an elephant, right? But now, if you take other people's perspective and experience who are standing on the other sides of elephants, right? Like if your partner, they may see things very, very differently. They're probably looking at a different part of the animal, right? But if you will get curious and you will allow for their perspective, then the two of you can get a better idea of this beautiful, magnificent animal in front of you. But if you refuse to take into account anyone else's perspective or point of view, then you just stand there and look at the butt of an elephant. Who wants to do that?
That's I'm not signing up for that.
Right. So, one of the things, like, if you are looking for another relationship, that's a really important, like, kind of filter to put somebody through is,
Mhm.
are they willing to accept other people's perspectives and point of view? Like, are they willing to step out of their own reality and go, what does your perspective look like on this? Like, what is your idea or opinion about this topic? And can I really respect you having a different reality than me?
It's vitally important. More work you do, the more you recognize how important respect is on both sides.
Mhm.
And that leads me to this. I want to talk about conflict. Because,
I love this topic.
yeah, it's valuable. Like it's valuable. And I see you said approach it with curiosity and vulnerability. So tell me your thoughts on conflict in a relationship.
Oh, I love conflict. I think conflict is so important. I worry much more when I have couples in my office and they're like, we never fight. I'm like, ooh, why don't you fight? Because clearly you're two different people. You're two different bodies. You've had two different upbringings. You have two different realities about life. So you're
Mhm.
going to have conflict, like embrace the conflict. Conflict is actually good. My husband and I couldn't possibly be more different. I mean, obviously we're two different sexes, but we grew up in two different parts of the country. We grew up with two different religious backgrounds. We speak two different languages. I speak Spanish and English, right? Our parents raised us completely differently. So if you ask us about almost any topic, we're going to be on two different sides of it. And I always say our differences make us passionate. Navigating those differences makes our marriage intimate. Because when we approach these differences with curiosity and vulnerability, we get to learn so much. Our perspective is so much broader. Instead of finding it annoying that my husband thinks about things so differently than I do, I respect the differences. I think of them as strengths. So, one example is just how we see money, right? My husband is a saver. He came from a family where money was scarce. They had to save and save and save. He remembers times when with his siblings, they would pick out a candy bar and split it 6 ways. That was my husband's upbringing and background. My parents, both very gainfully employed. We had all the newest toys all the time. I never wanted for anything. Now, so my husband is a saver and I'm on the saving side of the spectrum, but I love to spend money on experiences.
Yeah.
And our differences here have given us so much of a gift when you see it because my tendency to take the trip, have the experience, spend the money, do the thing.
Mhm.
We've got to do some really cool things. And his proclivity to save has made it so that not like as we go, we get to take more expensive, more adventurous, bigger trips the more we grow, right? And so instead of saying it's so annoying that he's always like saving pennies, I'm like, no, look at what we've been able to grow and save and build together that just makes our trips even more exciting. And we've created like the Tanner way. So we were just talking with a friend about it this morning. When we travel, my
Mhm.
husband always packs peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So we eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on our way to wherever we're going. We could be going to the most magnificent place ever. But then when we get there, we eat like kings. We don't buy airport food or fast food or whatever on the way to wherever we're going. But then we get to eat whatever we want when we get there. So it's like the Tanner way. It's combining the best of what I have to offer and the best of what he has to offer. And we've combined it and we've created our way.
That's that's fabulous. Because you said that conflict is opportunity. So that was the opportunity for you guys to create the Tanner way, right?
Totally, right? And like even when you talk about food, like we have such differences. I grew up eating seafood, so I appreciate like expensive crab legs that,
Uh-huh.
whereas my husband, he's like, give me a burger and pizza all day. That's all I want, right? And so we've figured out ways that I get to eat whatever, wherever we go, I get to eat whatever, like the local cuisine, like the cool, whatever. I'm very adventurous in what I'm willing to eat. Whereas
Hmm.
my husband, we'll find pizza or donuts or uh, uh,
Um,
a burger wherever we go, right? He has a very simple palate. He saves money on what he eats, and I get to order whatever I want on the menu.
that just reminded me of when you said you were in San Francisco and he brought the
Yes.
burger into the fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how we've learned to collaborate, right? Like
Yeah,
nobody has to give up anything.
I
We
agree.
have a
I
way
had
to
this
do it.
man like break up with me because I wasn't a foodie, and I'm like, dude, like I just was like, obviously he wasn't the one, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, you know what I'm
Let
saying?
those people go. They're looking
Yeah,
at the butt of an elephant.
thank you. That's what I said. That's what I thought at least. So I like one of the things you said. You said every interaction, no matter how small, contributes to the overall health of your marriage. I read that. Can you speak on that a little bit?
I mean, don't sweat the small stuff is terrible advice because where do you think the big stuff comes from? It doesn't come out of thin air, it comes from
Right.
the small stuff. So do we want to learn how to skillfully address the small stuff, or do we want to wait until it becomes big and overwhelming and a deal breaker?
Right. Absolutely. Another thing that was interesting to me because keeping your husband satisfied, because that's important. Sex is important, and people don't talk about it in relationships, but I think it's really important.
Yeah. It's interesting because I started working with couples, and almost all couples, when I'd say, like, how can I help you? They'd say, like, oh, we need to communicate better. They'd come in, right? And we would get down into the nitty-gritty and start talking really about their relationship, and always sex would come up. And so I knew it was a big priority for people. When our sexuality and our sex life is such a huge part of us because when we are in relationship with another person, we want to truly be able to be safe being who we are. And our sexuality is such a huge part of who we are. And if we feel like we're always hiding or, downplaying our sexuality, then we don't feel truly chosen for who we are. And so I knew that I needed additional training. So I did go and get a sex therapy certification. But really, I've learned so much just from other experts, sex therapists who are willing to, teach me and train me and talk to me. But one of the most important things I think that couples can really do is stop thinking of sex as something we do and
Hmm.
start thinking of it as a place where we can go to care for each other.
Okay. Because that's a great way to look at it rather than an obligation. But it has, and like you said, and I guess, and it goes back to what I said, like choosing the right partner, because both of us have to agree, like this is our opportunity to care for each other. We have to be on the same page. Otherwise, that just doesn't work. And I guess coming from where I'm coming from, I see things a little differently because I didn't
Yeah.
make it work. But what I value so much as I was reading through your book is just things I can do and being informed and, kind of having a good starting point and having some knowledge to go into relationships to be able to do the work, to do and recognize different things. I did because of my experience, but this right here is just an additional tool to help me. And I'm grateful that you wrote it and you gave us this information. I want to know, and this is kind of a weird question, but because I'm all about the fairy tale. I'm looking for my fairy tale. I guess all of us girls are, right? What does happily ever after look like?
Oh, what a great question. I think that's different for everyone, right? We're so individual. And there's no rules in modern marriage anymore. Like I think the old paradigm of the man goes out and works and the woman stays home and cares for the children in the household and the man works for the same company for 50 years and then pulls a pension, right? Like that's what it used to look like. It might have been a lot simpler and required less communication, right? Because we just knew what the roles and expectations were. it doesn't look like that anymore. We want somebody who can be our best friend, our lover, our adventure buddy,
Yeah.
somebody who challenges, somebody who validates us, somebody who fills all of the roles, right? And in order
Yeah.
to do that, in order to create your happily ever after, you have to be willing to communicate. You've got to get curious. You've got to be vulnerable. You've got to be willing to stand toe to toe with the person and say, we're going to make room in this marriage for both of us to learn, to grow, to develop, to make mistakes, to be insanely human.
Yes.
That is what it's like to forge a life together, to co-create a love story. And there's no one right way to do it. It's why they don't hand you a marriage manual and say, here you go, follow the instructions. That's just not what it's like anymore. It's like we get to build whatever it is we could possibly dream of together.
That's exciting, and that's the fantasy. That's the beautiful fairy tale because you're creating, like I would say, creating the life you want, creating the relationship that you want, and no one gets to tell you. You get to color outside the lines if you like, whatever that might be.
And
So,
such a crucial part of that
mhm.
is teaching your partner how to love you, right? So my mentor Terry Real says you can't be upset about something that about not getting something that you never asked for. Here's what I say. I say the most important thing you can do for your own well-being is love others by teaching them how to love you.
That is beautiful. I mean, the podcast is Lovin Sheila, so it's like it's lining up here. And this might be redundant. This is my last question because in kind of playing with the words, bad marriage advice, can you give us some good marriage advice?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Get really skilled. So, relationship communication, it's a skill set like any other thing that you would want to get good at. So, say you want to learn a sport or a new instrument, you
Mhm.
have to be willing to prioritize learning how to do it. And we all have to start as a beginner. Anything we want to learn how to do well, we've got to start as a beginner, which means it's going to be hard at first. It's going to be messy. We've got to stick in. We've got to keep practicing and training and learning until it becomes second nature. Relationships and communication are no different.
I used to coach kids and all, and it's practice. Like I talked about this at my last podcast I did on momentum, and just
Yes.
you got to do the work. There's good momentum and there's bad momentum, and we have to create our own positive momentum and
Yes.
build the relationship, just like you said. Now, I appreciate your time, and I want to ask you if some of our listeners want to have RLT, they want to get in contact with you. How do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can learn all about me, free resources, or how to work with me at my website, monicatanner.com.
Well, Monica, thank you. You introduced me to something totally new. I learned a lot.
Yay.
I'm going to continue. Well, I read the book, so I know you have more, right? You have more than just, but you have more.
Nope, that's my only book. However, I wrote that for my first child, and I have three more. So I've got three more books I've got to figure out how to write when my
Oh,
other get married.
well, you got a lot of work to do. I'm writing a book right now, and it's not easy. I
Congratulations.
know it's really fun, though. It's thank you.
Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed the discussion as much as I did. Here on the podcast, we're all about strengthening relationships, strengthening marriages, and entering into marriages well informed because, like she said, when you have a strong marriage, life just flows better. Hope you enjoyed. You can find out more about Monica at monicatanner.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I will see you on the next Lovin Sheila. Bye for now.